Dorje changchen te lo narodang marpa mila choje gampopa du som cheja kun ken karma pa che zi changge Gyupa Zinam Dritak salsam Paldendra pasok Zablam chaga Chela nyanepe Nyame drogon Dakpo kagula Solwa depso Kagyu Lama Lam Gyu Pazeno Nam Tarjen Gelo Jen Lo Gomge Kang Par Sung Parjen Say no kun la Jakshan me padak say dear dotak Jok pe gom chen la ne kor shen pa me par jen ge lo mugu gom ge go war sung parjen men ngak ter go je pe lama la gyandu so wa de pe gom chen la Jumen mugu ke war jen ge lo yang me gom ge no shir sung parjen gang char to pe no wo so ma de ma cho de kar jok pe gom chen la gom cha lo dang ra wa jen ge lo nam tok ngo wo cho kor sung pa jen chi yang ma yen Chir yang char wala magak ropar char we gom chen la korde yer me tok par jen ge lo ke wa kun tu yang dak lama dak Drao me choki pala long cho cheng sadang lam ki yon ten rap zok ne dorje changi go pa no top chok dorje changi go pa no top chok Sanjay Chodang Toki Tsoknam La Jangja Bardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Daki Jinso Ki Pe Sonam Ki Drola Panchir Sanjay Drupar Shok Sanjay Chodang Tsoki Choknam La Zhangzhe Bardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Daki Jinso Gepe Sonam Ki Drola Pencher Sanjay Dropar Shok Sanjay Chodang Soki Soknam La Jangja Bardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Daki Jinso Gepe Sonam Ki Drola Pencher Sanjay Dropar Shok Semchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gyu Dang Denpar Yurjik Duknal Dang Duknal Gigyu Dang Ralwar Yurjik Duknal Mepe Dewa Dampa Damen Ralwar Yurjik Duknal Dang Duknal Gigyu Dang Ralwar Yompar Nepar Yurjik Semchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gyu Dang Denpar Yurjik Duknal Dang Duknal Gigyu Dang Dralwar Yurjik Duknal Mipe Dewa Dampa Damen Bralwar Yurjik Nering Chakdang Nidang Dralway Tongyon Chenpo Lane Par Yurjik Semchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewe Gyudang Denpar Yurjik Duknal Dang Duknal Gigyu Dang Dralwar Yurjik Duknal Mepe Dewa Dampa Damen Dralwar Yurchik Nering Chakdang Nidang Dralway Tongyon Chenpola Nepar Yurchik Palden Sawa Lama Rinpoche Daki Chiwar Pede Denshula Kadren Chenpo Gone Jesung Te Kusung Tuki Nodrup Sal Du Sol. Well, good evening. Tonight I am going to be talking about noticing thoughts when you're not practicing on the cushion. So already another Lama has talked about meditation practice. You've learned about mindfulness, awareness, about watching and letting go. You've probably experienced the waterfall where your thoughts just seem to come uncontrollable and one after another, like falling over a cliff, a river falling over a cliff. And as a result of that, you've become more aware of how busy our minds are. And it's important to be kind to ourselves and to be gentle because we really have to have a clear picture of where we are before we can work with it successfully. We have to know our qualities, our habitual patterns, and so on and so forth. So, anyway, you by this time have realized that our thoughts are impermanent, that they are habitual, that we tend to think about the same things or think about things in the same way, and that they're created by our mind and they can cause suffering. So when we are practicing on the cushion, we need to have gentleness. We need to have kindness towards ourselves. And it's important to realize that we can eventually develop the ability to change our thoughts in midstream, that we can um, tame our minds and have more control of it. So, with meditation, whether you are meditating in a formal situation or in post meditation, there are two elements, and that is mindfulness and awareness. Mindfulness is relating to specific situations directly, precisely. It's like looking with a microscope. So you see things as clearly as possible. And mindfulness is in the present, it is now. Awareness is seeing what mindfulness discovers. It's recognizing the product of mindfulness. Awareness is seeing more than just the microscopic view of mindfulness, that there's room for recognition of thoughts and emotions. So now you have meditated, you get up and you enter your daily life. Or maybe you have gone through your daily life and then you go to the cushion and you meditate. But anyway, one way or another, you have a daily life and you have a meditation practice. A good transition between formal meditation practice and daily life is walking meditation. And this is actually something that could be practiced if you are walking from your car to, let's say, a store, or walking from your car to work, or to a bus stop, or going for a walk in the woods, and so forth. That walking meditation is really quite a good practice to help incorporate the meditative mindfulness awareness experience into our daily lives. And again, it's important to have kindness and gentleness, because when you are going through your mundane daily life, if you are practicing awareness and mindfulness, even every once in a while, you're going to start noticing things that you hadn't noticed before. And one of the things is that maybe you are not quite as, I'm trying to think of a good word for this, maybe not quite as good as you thought you were, that you might find that you have thoughts of resentment and so on and so forth, greed and on and on and on, that you're not perfect. And no problem here. Again, we have to be kind to ourselves. And that Khenpo Rinpoche emphasizes this over and over and over again when he would give meditation instructions and in his writings or the transcripts of his talks. So we have to go out into the world. We can't just stay meditating in the shrine room, in our shrine room at home, and so forth, that we have to go into the world. And if we can take a little bit of our meditation with us, that is wonderful. You could look at it as momentum, that, but we also want to make sure that there isn't an aggressive or a stubborn aspect to this. Um, Sometimes people, when they meditate, they experience bliss. And I've seen people meditate with big smiles on their faces, even. Well, there's a problem with this, especially when you go out into the world, because very quickly the world is going to give you a reality check and your bliss is gone, and maybe you're a little bit aggressive at this point about whatever it was that caused that bubble to burst. We need to have this gentleness in our mindfulness. Um, and we don't have to make a big deal of it. Nobody else has to know that we're doing some walking meditation as maybe you're going through a grocery store. No problem there. Just uh, blend in, but have some mindfulness. So every once in a while, no matter what you are doing, it's good if you can just take a step back and uh, meditate, even if it's just for a few breaths. Remind yourself of the quality of meditation and so forth. Just kind of rest in brief awareness the best that you can. So it's important to be able to do this frequently if it's at all possible. And it can be just a short period of time. It isn't like taking even a minute, but just a flash of freshness. And Rinpoche talks about drinking a cup of tea and just being mindful of bringing the cup to your lips and the sensation of drinking the tea and then putting the cup back down. That we always have this possibility of shifting our awareness from being kind of lost in thoughts and not even being aware that we're lost in thoughts and being present. That you can be present even in the midst of chaos. That we have choices that we can make and that we can alert ourselves to mindfulness repeatedly. We can make it a habit. Here is something that I noticed when I first started meditating, and that is that at that point in my life, I'd like to have some of my favorite music in the background. Not when I was meditating, but when I was going about things at home. And I then would, because of meditation, try to pay attention to the music, the lyrics, and so forth. And well, let's say I learned a lot about my ability to concentrate and uh, be distracted and so forth. And I would recommend doing this yourself, seeing if you have favorite music, put it on and see how long it takes before you're not following the music and you're lost in thoughts and emotions and feelings. And so when we're out with people, that things can suddenly crop up and fear can arise or apprehension. And in fact, there's a lot of this. It seems to be an epidemic right now in the world and the United States in particular. And we can use these situations to practice mindfulness and awareness. We can pause for a moment, take a break, let go, and maybe see things freshly. And if we can do that rather than getting caught up in the chaos and the conflict, that it's easier for us to find solutions or at least keep things from getting worse. that you can actually, when there's chaos, you might say, this is a metaphor, but you can breathe in the chaos and give back order, that we don't have to have a chaotic mind. And the more that we recognize what's going on in our mind and the thoughts that we have in our mind, then the greater our ability is to let go of the thoughts that are causing so much chaos and confusion and fear and so forth. And this brings openness, it brings space, it brings possibilities. It brings up new ways of seeing things and new ways of working with people. And this is a very important point, that this clarity of mind and this openness uh, just can solve so many problems in our lives just by kind of stepping back, taking a break. It's interesting. I used to be a prison chaplain, and I received training. I was considered non-uniform personnel, which meant that I wasn't a guard. And so I received different training than what the uniform personnel would receive. But this was part of the training that I received, and that was when things get really tense, where there's a lot of fear going on, and you don't know, maybe the inmate is going to do something that you don't want them to do, maybe even get violent, to stop and take a few deep breaths. Literally, that's what they said. And of course, when you take a few deep breaths, this stimulates a relaxation response in the body, and it gives our mind space. Here, even in the Wisconsin Department of Correction, they were teaching, in a way, a type of mindfulness. So here is a quote from Khenpo Karta Rinpoche. In any sort of situation, whether you are writing something or reading a book, even while you're turning the pages, you can come back to yourself and practice this kind of direct mindfulness. Just paying attention to turning the page, paying attention to the book in your hand, and so forth. And so I have another personal story that I think it's a little bit embarrassing, but I think you'll all find it helpful. And that was when I first started meditating. I decided to do a retreat, a meditation retreat in my home by myself. And uh, I a friend of mine joined me, not in the retreat, but he came to do his own retreat in my house. And this particular man had a special place in my heart because he was the one that turned me in the direction of Khenpo Karta Rinpoche. But anyway, the rules that I had set out for my meditation retreat were such that I could go to town and buy food if I wanted to. And so it was time for me to go get some groceries in town, and I wanted to make sure that I kept the mindfulness and awareness. And I got into my car very mindfully, put the key in the ignition mindfully, and started the car mindfully, put it in reverse mindfully, and uh, backed into my friend's car because there was no awareness, or at least not enough awareness. Now, the fortunate thing was that I was doing everything so slowly that I essentially did no damage. But it was a good reminder of you need awareness with the mindfulness. And so to continue, try different things in terms of mindfulness and awareness as you're going through your daily life. Not necessarily every few minutes, but try different things one week and something else another week. See what works. See what you learn about yourself, learn about working with others, especially what kinds of thoughts keep coming up, and so forth. So be curious, examine, see with fresh eyes, and it's good to again be aware of more than just you're having thoughts, but the content of the thoughts. What is it that seems to be your habitual patterns? Now, there's a difference between thoughts and emotions, and I think the next talk is going to be on working with emotions. And so thoughts are conceptual, and this is my definition of an emotion. An emotion is a collection of thoughts with credentials. And the credentials could be, well, you've got a resume of how these things have come up over and over and over again, how this person has irritated you over and over again, and the reasons why that person irritates you. Or it could be the opposite. It could be why they attract you. But you've got some type of a resume, and then you might even talk to your friends and express your feelings to your friends, and you express it in such a way that they agree with you, and now you've got a letter of recommendation. So anyway, I won't go into the emotions anymore. Let's get back to the thoughts. So when thoughts arise and we are aware of them, we, in most cases, don't want to get judgmental. We want to just recognize that it's there and let go of it. Maybe later on you want to do a post-mortem and think about how these show up in certain situations, these same thoughts. Excuse me. But anyway, it's good to practice nowness, which is a type of mindfulness, as I said. Um, Sometimes eating in silence can be a very good practice if you are eating alone. Or I have done retreats at KTD and here where we'll have one meal that we eat in silence. And what happens when you eat in silence is that you start tasting the food because you're paying attention to the food, not your thoughts about the food. And I have led day-long retreats in the prison for inmates and had eating in silence. And I've even had the inmates say comments like, "This was the best prison meal I ever ate." And I promise you, prison food is not gourmet dining. But because of mindfulness, they actually tasted the food. And it tasted pretty darn good. from their perspective. So now, if we don't notice thoughts, well, guess what? You end up in the same place day after day after day, month after month, year after year. Nothing really changes except you age and so forth. But noticing our thoughts can be very, very important and a very powerful way to change for the better. It's also important to have a teacher so that you can have get some guidance from your teacher, your meditation instructor, about how to work with situations that arise either when you're on the cushion or when you're out in the world. That we don't have to figure this out alone, that there are plenty of teachers out there that are authorized by KTD that we can go to and depend on to help us. Something else that can be done in post-meditation, and that is using our thoughts in a positive way. And that would be making aspiration prayers, making offerings, accumulating merit, and so forth, that there is plenty of things that we can do that will be very, very beneficial for us, and then we can dedicate the merit to other beings. Now, a problem in post-meditation in our ordinary mundane lives that now I was born in 1945, and I've seen a lot of changes. And so one of them is social media. It did not exist much of my life. And you can spend, I think you can spend 25 hours a day on social media and the internet and so on and so forth. So in post-meditation, if we're going to notice thoughts, we have to minimize our distraction. And there are many, many other ways to be distracted. I'm not just talking about social media. There are just so many different ways to be distracted today. There are three types of laziness that are in Buddhism. And the first one is I can't give you the Tibetan or the Sanskrit names for these, but I call the first one couch potato, where you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, and you might, after wake up, kind of lay in bed and think about, oh, I've got all these things to do today. I better go back to sleep so I can conserve my energy. And then you do get up and you do a few things, you have lunch, and then it's time to lay on the couch and take a nap, and so on and so forth. So that's one type of laziness. And of course, there you're not going to notice much in the way of thoughts. Then the next is compulsive busyness. And that's why I'm bringing this up, is because people are so busy today. There is just so many different things to do, things to watch on the internet, and on and on and on. Sometimes it's good to take a break and give yourself some space and decide what's important and what isn't important. The problem with this busyness type of laziness is that you're always busy, but you fail to get done what needs to be done. you do a lot of other things that aren't nearly as important. And then the third type of laziness is self-deprecation, which is thinking, oh, I could never do that, so there's no point in me trying. So all three of those can interfere dramatically with our paying attention to thoughts, being aware of thoughts in post-meditation. Now, it's also good to recognize how what you put into your mind affects your thoughts. And when I say what you put into your mind, I mean what you read, what you watch, what you talk about with other people, and the music that you listen to, and so forth. I remember one time I was asked, it was really wasn't a question. The woman said, when I watch horror movies, I have nightmares. Well, obviously, the answer to that is don't watch horror movies. So pay attention to when you're reading a book or listening to music or watching a video or something. When you're feeding your mind something, pay attention to how it makes you feel and what kind of thoughts then follow. Now, so it's important to have positive thoughts. And it isn't like we're trying to create positive thoughts, but pay attention to your thoughts. And you might say, do things that encourage positive thoughts. And on the other hand, negative thoughts, sometimes they can be turned into stepping stones, you might say. There was a time in my life when I first came to Buddhism that I was suffering from depression, and I would forget things. And eventually I realized that, let's say I got in the car and was going somewhere, and then I forgot something. Oh, I forgot. And actually, what was happening was not I forgot, I remembered. I forgot sometime in the past, and since I forgot, I can't remember when I forgot. But I remembered, and actually, we want to encourage remembering and so forth. And so instead of getting down on myself for forgetting, I tried to encourage myself to remember. So a lot of times when we see these thoughts that we have, negative thoughts and so forth, it's actually good that we are seeing them. If you're going to clean house, you have to see the dirt first. So the next point is lighten up, have a light touch, have a sense of humor. Don't take things so seriously. That it's really important that most of life is not nearly as serious as we think it is. And we can get so hard on ourselves. It is good to maybe just have a good laugh on yourself. Uh, to continue here, learn your thought patterns, get to know them. If you look, you might see something. If you don't look, you're not going to see anything. But look, and then you're going to see something, and then you will eventually begin to realize it doesn't have to be this way, that I would like to change, maybe make aspirations to change, and so forth. Let me see here. Karma has a lot to do with this too. Karma is cause and effect. And Khenpo Rinpoche once said that habitual patterns are one of the most insidious forms of karma. And so the habitual patterns can be seeing things in a certain way, when there can be many, many different ways to see a particular situation, a person, and so forth. We always see it in the same way. And again, the more we realize how our habitual patterns work, where they lie, the more freedom we have, the more we know about these thoughts that keep coming up, the less they will control us. And freedom is, of course, what we want. And there's no reason to get discouraged about all of this, what we see. That's very, very important. We're not perfect. We don't have to be perfect. All we need is the motivation to work with whatever it is that crops up in our minds. And part of working with it can be letting go, that developing the ability to let go. This is very, very important in the world today. There's a lot of fear, a lot of worry. People are feeling overwhelmed and so forth. And if you can let go, uh, this can make a world of difference. Again, here is a personal story. I like to talk about personal stories. But when I had the prison chaplain job, it was 100-mile one-way drive to get there. It took an hour and 45 minutes to get to work. And the parking lot, well, the warden had his office with a big window that looked onto the parking lot. And there was only one door into the prison. And so sometimes as I was walking from my car into the prison, the warden would actually wave to me. Well, some days I would leave late. And if I wanted to, for an hour and 45 minutes, I could worry about being late. There are a lot of different thoughts that you can have about being late, and then the warden seeing you, and then yada, 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 yada. But I kept reminding myself, I can only be late once, and the rest of it is just thoughts. So it's very important to remember that the thoughts that you become aware of, they are just thoughts. They are no more than just thoughts. And I'm getting close to the end of my talk, and So I think if it's possible, we could have a question and answer session. And then after that, we can dedicate the merit.
Okay, if people have questions, I ask you to put them into the chat and we will share them. I'm going to bring the Chinese speakers into here and the translation, so we'll have live translation here.
现在是问答的时间，大家有问题的话可以提出来。
I didn't understand that.
I say this is the QA time. Anybody had questions?
Oh, I see. I understood that.
I got a question here from David. How do you recommend dealing with thoughts of anxiety?
那问题就是说，你如何处理这个关于忧虑的这个念头？这是 David 的问题。
Well, anxiety is really high right now. And of course, it's fear. And it's important to remember again that you're afraid of something that might happen rather than will happen. It can be difficult to let go of fear, but it's something that might happen rather than will happen.
第一个就是大家看到，就是你所忧虑的这个问题，它可能发生，但不一定会发生。所以大家先要知道这点。那时候。
Something that frequently happens too is the anxiety brings about physical sensations. And then you start getting anxious about these physical sensations as well. And it gets to be kind of a chain reaction. But by meditating and learning to let go, let go, let go, this can help, this can have an effect. And again, realizing that it is just thought. The fear is just thought.
然后有些时候你可能会碰到这个让你担心的事情，可能是因为你生理上的一些问题，所以那时候呢，你要跟你自己讲要放松，放松，放松。然后呢，它只是一个想法而已，就是你看到你这个，它只是一个想法而已，所以你可以放松的，你要坚持的去想这些事情。放松。
And finally, our minds are very, very creative. And we can come up with all kinds of different possibilities that have negative consequences. But again, it's just our imagination. And, well, you might say we can make plans and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that, but even the plans are just thoughts in our imagination. And it's good to just come back to the moment, come back to the breath even, if you want to take a break from anxiety.
然后呢，你可以想到，其实我们的心是非常有创造力的。它可能会 可以创造很多的幻想，或者说你有可能就想办法去阻止他，想一些这个方法。但是你要知道，这些都只是一个想法而已。然后呢，你需要的就是赶快回到你的当下，回到你的呼吸。如果你在做的是呼吸的产生的话，老师。
Well, I'd like to go to the next question. I could spend more time on this. It's a very important one, but the next question is, how do you find yourself being affected when either tired or hungry or under the weather? Some of our thoughts and actions are impacted by this. And, oh, go ahead, Mark.
OK，Thank you。下面就是说，在你如果说在非常非常的这个就是说非常疲倦的时候，或者是非常的饥饿的时候，在这种或者是在这种不好的天气下面的时候，那你如何能够在自己在这种情况下找到你平静的心？那有时候呢，我们的这个想法还有我们的行动都会被这种情况呢影响。老师。
Well, this kind of goes back to the first question too, and that is remember, everything is temporary, everything is impermanent.
这个问题呢，就是可以回到我们第一个问题的讲法，就是所有的事情都是无常的，它不是永恒的。老师。
Yeah, so take into consideration if you're under the weather, if you're sick, well, get some rest and take it easy. Here is a personal secret of mine, and that is, well, I'm close to 80, I get tired, and so I'll take a break and I'll have something to eat that I like to eat. Cookie, dish of ice cream, something nice to eat, take a break, enjoy it, and then go back and continue doing what I was doing. Also, I think it's very important to, when you accomplish something, kind of give yourself a pat on the back and then dedicate the merit to all beings.
然后我们再来看到说这个地方呢，我们可以看到说，在这种情况，就是你可能生病或怎么样呢？那我们就是要放松。那我现在今年已经80岁了，那我对这个方法呢，我很容易就是感觉到疲累，所以在这个情况下，我给我自己一个放松的一个时间。那我有可能去吃点东西，可能吃点饼干或者吃点这个冰淇淋，然后再回来，你再继续做我该做的事情。同样的情况就是说，我们在这个时候呢，就是有时候我们觉得在这个日常生活呢，会有一些觉得小小的小确幸，又成功了，或做出很好的事情，那你自己可以对你自己拍拍肩，说啊，你真的很棒，那要常常给你自己一点点鼓励。啊，so
One last point here, and this has to do with dog training. Now, when a dog does what you want it to do, it's really good to have a dog biscuit to give the dog right away as soon as they've done something that you're training them to do. And the last thing you want to do is beat a dog 3 days after he did something that you feel he deserved getting beaten for. So treat yourself and acknowledge when you do something good, and then you do something negative that you regret, well, do something about it right then rather than going around and beating yourself up about it for 3 years.
这边就是说，你能够像这个做我们狗的训练一样，如果你觉得在狗做你想要做的事，你就当场就给它吃点这个饼干之类狗饼干，不要说在你一天的时候，它做的不好的时候，你去把它打一打。这个通常我们比较强调是在做正面的时候呢，给鼓励。 而不是在做一些负面的时候，你给他一些这个不好的处罚。That's all.
I'm ready for the next question.
我要做下一个问题的解答了。
Next question is, are recurring patterns an aspect of negative karma?
他的问题就是说，如果是这个习惯性的想法，是不是因为我们有负面的这个业？我说，
Recurring patterns are definitely an aspect of karma. We can also have recurring positive patterns. And actually, this is what we want to do, is we want to encourage the positive patterns. We want them to keep on recurring, and we want to weaken the negative thought patterns. So it's fine to, you might say, go out of the way to have positive thoughts, to even, and I'm not saying doing this all the time, because a lot of times observation is important, but if you're having a bunch of negative thoughts, well, just stop it and start thinking about something nice. Um, something, a memory of something that you really enjoyed, or about someone that you really loved, or a great teacher that you have had, or, just something that is positive. It could be as simple as just taking a few breaths and enjoying the breathing and being alive.
然后呢，我们要记住，就是说这个业呢有正面的业跟负面的业。我们在这个时候呢，需要讲到的就是说，在正面的部分上，你可能需要尽力的去推动它，让我们能够有更多的这个正面的这个的念头出现。当然，负面的业就是你希望能够把它抑制。然后呢，但是正面的业你可以要尽量推就是了。另外就是说，我们在这个很多时候呢，当你这个很多这个负面的情绪出现的时候，当然你要观察了，但你可以去就直接就停止它，就想想别的事情。例如说，你可以想一想，你喜欢的人啊，你喜欢做的事情啊，或者你想啊，你最尊敬的那些老师嘛，的老师或什么样子等等的，你就只是或者你只是很简单的去只是做一些呼吸的这些禅修，只是让你能够回到你自己的当下。老师。
That was all that I have to say about the negative karma aspects of thought.
这是我能够讲关于这个负面的这个业的问题。
Lama Mark, the next comment or question is in Chinese, so I need to turn to you.
Okay, it says I will translate it into English. It says, I hope the KDD can continue offer the network internet courses, and also hopefully can also send out a Chinese email or an email with Chinese and or the notice that will be the best. If it's in English, we probably very easy to miss them. I'm very grateful for this time that we have this Chinese translation. Thank you. Okay, I'm done. So that's probably not a question, it's a comment.
I'll take that one and just say I will pass that on to the KTD management and see if we can get somebody to translate the emails that we send so that there's both English and Chinese.
Okay, so it's your to do, right?
My to do.
OK，所以这边会有人会把这传到我们的管理系统里面，会让您的想法能够得到完成。谢谢。
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I've liked the question so far, so please ask another.
Oh, there is one. Is it a sign of progress if when mindfulness leads to awareness that you lose the grasping at needing to do anything to change anything that is happening in the moment?
It certainly can be, yes. It certainly can be.
所以这个样是不是说这个问题，就是说是你发现是不是当你觉得你能够呃感到这个失去控制的时候呢，那但是呢，你却能够感觉到这种他的这个念头，那这个是不是一种你的禅修的进步？那个Lama Sutran 的意思是说，这可能是的，很可能是的，是一种进步的象征。
Yeah, I like to say this. This is kind of a play on words, but we are human beings, not human doers. And it's good to just let ourselves be sometimes and not do anything.
就在这个两种情况，就是说我们有时候让我们自己能够归到一个比较有觉知的情况，或者是有正念的情况，也就是不做任何事，只让我们的心回到那个平静的觉知的心，这是他的建议。So
Yeah, and I see he commented that's not a form of laziness. And that is true. That's contented.
那这拉玛又讲了说，这个地方就回答他的问题。另外一个说，这个不是懒惰，他说这实际上是一种满足。
I'm going to give a little promotion here, self-promotion. I'm going to be down in Gainesville, Florida in early part of May, and my program is going to be Change, Chaos, and Contentment.
那我在这边要做一个小小的广告时间，我在五月初的时候会到这个佛罗里达的 Gainesville，我到那边会讲的就是能够改变这个混乱的情况，把它变成一个满足的情况。
So I've got a story, a dog story. I'm a dog lover. And so you have the old dog in the living room, lying on the floor, and there's a fire in the fireplace. And he's just happy as can be. But there's a young pup in there with him, and the young pup is running around in circles, chasing after his tail. And finally, the old dog lifts his head up and says to the young pup, "What are you doing?" And the young pup says, "Well, I heard that happiness is at the end of my tail, and I'm going to get a big bite of it." And the old dog said, "Well, it's true. Happiness is at the end of your tail. But if you leave it alone, it follows you wherever you go."
我这边有一个故事，就是我自己是爱狗人，那我自己呢也有狗，所以在那个地方有时候你会看到，就是有一个狗，然后一个小狗，那个小狗喜欢追着它的这个尾巴，那个大狗就跟他讲说："你为什么老是追着你的尾巴呢？"那个小狗跟他讲说："人家跟我讲说，我的快乐就是在尾巴那边，那所以我一直要去追着它的尾巴。"那大狗讲说："其实你不必，因为你如果什么不动的话，它呢还是会跟着你走的。"说
Any other questions?
有没有其他的问题？
Well, if there are no more questions, I really don't have much else to say. We could dedicate the merit.
如果没有问题的话，我想我没有什么要说的，我们就可以做回向。
Okay.
Gyalkun Ningje Rangjuk Karma Pa
祝佛悲心化身格玛巴，
Karma Pa Gyalkun Duksop Wankor Karma Pa Organ Doodle Trine Shapten Sol Sonam Dei Tamje Zikpane Topne Ne Pe Dranam Pamje Ne Kega Nachi Balap Drupaye Sepe Sole Drowa Sho Jampal Pawo Jitan Kenpadang Kuntu Zangpo De Yang De Gente De Dak Kungi Jesu Dak Lop Ching Gewa De Dak Tam Che Rap Tu No Sanjay Kusum Ne Pe Jin Lap Dang Choni Mingyur Den Pe Jin Lap Dang Yan Dun Mi Che Dun Pe Jin Lap Ki Chitak Noa Mon Lam Drupar Sho Du Shi Le Gal Gal Wei Tren Le Pa Karma Pa Ten Ten Pe Ning Po Di Choktar Kun Kap Ching Gun Mi Che Tak Par Rappel Pel Wei Ta Shi Sho. Well, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight, and it is my wish that all of you benefit greatly from this, and the people you come in contact with benefit from this as well.